Hi crafters, it's Louise with you today on behalf of Kitaholic Kits, and I'm sharing a scrapbook layout using the November kits, and it features the fabulous Midnight collection from Coco Vanilla Studio. Now this particular layout I actually started at the very beginning of the month, so you can see that my kit really looks like it hasn't been touched terribly much. All the papers are nice and neat and tidy, and none of them are cut. So really this page was the first one I started on, and the reason it took so long, why it's now at the end of the month, is because of the stitching involved. Now I have to say I love stitching and how it looks on a layout, but man, it takes some time. So that's what actually happened in the delay to get this page to you, was the actual stitching took a lot longer than what I thought, but I really love how this layout has turned out. So I'm happy that I took the time to actually do the stitching and, show you what stitching can add to a page. Now, when I first started this layout, stitching wasn't on the menu, so I actually hadn't decided that I was going to stitch the background. I was going to make some paper layers and just embellish a page as per normal. The stitching sort of just developed as I was putting this together. Now, what I'm doing is cutting out some of the elements, and I've also cut, you can see, some different size papers and choosing some embellishments just to see sort of what I want on this page, how it's going to look. The picture inspiration for this page is actually one I took last year. Looking through a newspaper, I saw this house, Hamptons inspired, and just loved it. So I snapped a picture, and it's, as the title suggests, my dream home. So hopefully one day I will get to live in this Hamptons inspired double-story fantastic house with, of course, a huge craft room. And you can see that's how I've added my journaling as well. So all I'm doing here is creating the little tabs off to the side. I've picked a couple of elements. I knew I was going to call this Dream Home, but I wanted to use these gold thickers because they're just so beautiful. Gold with this collection works so well. So Dream Home will be the title of my finished layout. As you can see off camera, I've gone ahead and stuck all those layers together. I've done a little bit of distressing around those paper edges as well, trimmed them to suit the eventual final layout that I'm going to end up with. Now this die cut came from the November die cuts available in the community, and I cut it with the Cameo. So I've got a silhouette Cameo. That's how I cut this beautiful floral die cut, and what I'm doing is just tracing around it. I'm not going to show you this whole process because you know how to trace and you know what you need to do, but I am going to show you just how I create the holes for my stitching. So I just use a little push pin, flip my mouse mat over, and add those holes in depending on how much you want to stitch. So in this case I've done really tiny little stitches, which is why it took so long, but you can see the effect that you get. And if you missed it earlier, rewind a little bit, but you can also see I've only stitched the areas where it's actually going to be seen. I didn't waste any time stitching what was going to go under my cluster. So in this case that's the reason why I've done the cluster first, because then I know where my actual stitching needs to go. And as you see, I'm covering some of it up. I've got a couple of little embellishments there, some florals that came in the kit as well. Because this particular subject is something that I will keep for myself, it doesn't necessarily, I don't need to avoid the florals in this collection. So that's why I let myself get a little bit carried away with some of the embellishing. But in the end, you need to be happy with your own page. If you like lots of embellishments, pop them on. If you like minimal embellishments, absolutely, do what you're comfortable with. So I'm not going to show you the whole of this sticking down, but you can see what I've ended up with, this description of how I want my dream home to be. Finally, I'm adding just those clear stickers, and this layout is then complete. So I hope you enjoyed that from me. Thank you for watching, something a little bit different, a little bit more feminine, and I hope you're inspired to have a go at some stitching or to scrap maybe your dream home. So thanks for watching. I hope you subscribed already, and don't forget to check out Kitaholic Kits.